Now, I'm pretty sure that I have worked out all the bugs, all the kinks, all the glitches, all the twitches, all the everything. I'm pretty sure that the audio works. And if it has an echo, then that's cool. But I'm pretty sure I got this. With that said, I'm going to bring up this scene so we can actually see each other. I know you guys will be checking in momentarily. I appreciate your patience on that. You know, everything was working, and then it got too hot in here to not have the AC on when I was going live, especially with the heat coming out of the computer. And then the AC was super loud. So then it became like, oh, well, how do I mitigate the AC? Then I had to install this other thing in the chain. This whole thing. We're past that. We're past that now. We have succeeded. We've made it through. My audio appears totally clean. Again, I don't have Solomon here to verify it, but it appears totally clean. But I have exciting news. Once folks show up, I have very exciting news. I think it could be a good time. Let's see if I got a response here. This is my news. I'm tracking news in real time here, and I think we're having a discourse, and I think I have something for you. Nope, he didn't respond. But that's a pain in the... But we'll work it out, because now he's on the hot seat. And I'll tell you who I'm talking about and what I'm looking for them to respond to once you guys are here, and I can actually tell you about it. But yes, I think I have things working. I think we are... we've solved our immediate audio glitches. There's certainly stuff for me to do, and I know one way I can fix this is to cut one of the two different broadcasting softwares. I've chained two softwares. It's unnecessary, but it's just how I set it up originally, and then I kind of grafted it onto here. So I'm going to fix all that. That's going to get all fixed, revamp that, tear those wires out, because obviously I'm not busy enough. But that'll get us going clean on the audio, and it'll be a consistent, easy thing. I'm also going to get a stream deck, so I don't have to do this all in software. I'll actually have buttons. But again, that's down the road. Right now, just being on here broadcasting, having my voice be heard, having the audio I play on the computer be heard is a lovely step in the right direction, and I will take it, run with it, and be thrilled about it. I don't need any fancy buttons or all that quite yet. So good morning, wonderful people. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for sitting there while I worked out how to work my computer during Mercury retrograde and all the other challenges we have right now. So the exciting news I have is you guys may know Professor Dave. Why does that name sound familiar? Who the fuck is Professor Dave? I know, right? Professor Dave is not this guy, but the last video I was watching. Where's Professor Dave? Let's get Professor Dave. Professor Dave. This guy, Professor Dave Explains. Remember
Welcome
this guy?
Professor Dave Explains.
Right, we watch all kinds of science videos from him, and I have a bunch of videos of his ready to go and stuff today. So Professor Dave has a video about astrology. Yeah? So here it is, right? So naturally, I had to watch Professor Dave's video about astrology. Of course. And my comment for Professor Dave was, well, yeah, but that's shit astrology that you're looking at, man. Like, my exact comment was...
take place on Earth.
Oh, so his basic premise is that, and I have an issue with this premise too, that there's no way that the gravity of other planets could possibly affect those of us on Earth. That would depend on all sorts of things, and that's clearly not how it works. And I was like, totally, Dave. I don't think any serious astrologer thinks that's how it works, man. I'm pretty sure that how it works is there were a set of causes that set everything into motion, and they set the planets, or the matter that would then become planets, into motion, and the planets are still playing out on those cyclical patterns, and therefore we can observe the planets as a reference. So it's not causation, it's correlation, Professor Dave. I didn't expect Dave to respond. I was just throwing a comment on a YouTube video. But he comes back, and I was like, if you're going to debunk astrology, debunk serious astrology at least. Don't debunk, lightweight astrology, whatever's on your app. Debunk, like, serious astrology of serious astrologers. Go back, all the guys you talk about in all your other videos, all these great scientists, your Galileo, Kepler, all the great thinkers of history have all been really, really, really into astrology also. So debunk their astrology, not, 1970s New Age astrology. And Dave came back and was like, there's no such thing as serious astrology. And I said, oh, okay, well, would you be interested in an experiment, Dave? I wonder if I can get it. Here it is. I wonder if he responded. So this is the thread. I don't know if you guys can read it. But he said there is no serious astrology. It's BS top to bottom. There's no correlation such as you suggest. None. Sorry. And I said, well, okay. Well, thank you for reading. And the more or less friendly reply. Would you be open to an experiment with a more studied astrologer? Could be worthwhile content. I know I'd be fascinated to see the results. And he said, as hilarious as it would be to humiliate an astrologer, I don't have the infrastructure to make that type of content. So his excuse was he can't make the content. Well, granted, I have my audio troubles here, but I got people for this stuff. So I said, okay, cool, Dave. If you're interested, I believe we could raise the funds, get the astrologers willing to like put their reputations on the line, and use this as a chance to have some fun, and I'll give money to a charity of your choice, and we can take this out of public comments if you're interested. And of course, he said, I really can't envision whatever it is you're attempting to describe. So I laid it out clearly for him. I said, I believe there's enough interest in the topic to crowdfund an experiment and content documenting the process and the result. You'd, of course, be involved in experiment design and in the content side. If it doesn't fund, no commitment. If it does, the plan proceeds. My nonprofit will donate to a charity of your choice in recognition of your participation before we begin the experiment, and we can build additional opportunities for giving into the Kickstarter and or the content side. And he said, all right, I would gladly set up an experiment I know that no astrologer could pass and then watch them fail. And I said, okay, I think it would be a bit more sporting and draw more interest to set up an experiment that's actually designed to test what the astrologer claims they can do. And of course, to include a social scientist to assist with some of the quantification, because this is all about matching, the position of the stars. That's easy to get the numbers on. We can do that. But then how do we talk about the personality traits those are correlating with? How are we quantifying that? How are we making that numbers that we can do science with? We're going to need some social scientists to assist with some of the quantification, because personality traits aren't exactly objectively quantifiable. But if you're into it, I think it could be a lot of fun, raise a bunch of interest, and put some money towards a hopefully scientific good cause you've got in mind. So Dave, if for some reason you're watching this because you've been talking with me on YouTube, I'm a very real person. I very really mean this. I very really have a nonprofit. I very really raise funds on Kickstarter for cool things like this. And I very really think this is something people are interested in. And I would love to do this with you, man. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you kick in on this? I know you guys, my core people, definitely will. But like, who wouldn't kick in to make this happen? This would be really cool, right? He's a scientist who does not believe astrology works. And the thing was, he posted a bunch of studies in his thing here. This was one. It said large-scale studies showing no correlation between date of birth and personality, which, of course, that's not astrology. That's fine. Okay. Then this one and this one. So this double-blind test of astrology, right? I looked at this, and it seems pretty compelling. The thing is, it all comes down to the astrologer, right? You're working with a person's interpretation. So who are these astrologers? Well, they don't say who the astrologers are, but they say scientists wishing to familiarize themselves with astrology as astrologers practice it may find the following works useful. And they go on to give stuff published from between 1953 maybe to 1980. So like, if you guys have heard me talk about books and how I collect books, how I build the Holy Mountain Library, like, that is the prime time bullshit zone. That is your New Age movement, your fluffy Llewellyn Press. Let's see, does he have the presses on here? Shambhala Berkeley. Like, Shambhala Berkeley's a Buddhist press. Why are they writing about astrology? I don't know, a lot of these are just, Doubleday's a major press, but, a lot of these are just vanity presses. So none of this is like the esteemed astrological literature. So I don't know what astrologers they were talking to, right? Because I know that my astrologer friends don't read those books, so they wouldn't recommend those books. So I presume that this study was dealing with some not excellent astrologers. So we'll leave it at that. Also, I can't help but notice, but none of this includes Vedic astrology, which is the far more rigorous kind of, directly plausible thing. And then this one, I don't know what Ingenta, I don't know that I checked this one. Let's see what this one is. I don't know what this is. So what do they say here? So what is... This is testing if astrology is related to psychicism, which I don't think it is. No, that's not that. And the fact that they're testing for that tells me that they don't understand astrology, because no astrologer of any seriousness would say, "Oh yes, it's a psychic thing." It has nothing to do with a psychic anything. You look at the fucking chart, you read it. So is there an intuitive process to interpreting it? Sure, as there's an intuitive process to interpreting an X-ray. But nonetheless, like, it's not a psychic thing. Anyway, so Professor Dave may or may not ascend to my challenge here to help co-design experiment. If he agrees to do the experiment, I got to see how much money I can raise and spare. Like, we got to obviously pay our bills. I got to pay Solomon. But with whatever money we can, $1,500, $2,000, I will give that to Dave's charity of his choice, and hopefully one that supports science education or something wonderful like that. We'll go ahead and do the experiment, and then we'll share the results. And I'll get, Josh, who did that documentary work for me, to film it. It'll be great. Dave seems like a pretty cool dude. We watch a lot of his videos. I hope he's not a dick. He's kind of been a dick in the comments. It's hard to gauge it, but maybe this is something that's like personally wounded him before. Maybe his family broke up over a bad astrological interpretation. I don't know. And I don't want to throw shade on Dave, because that's not my point. Because honestly, I love the dude's videos. In fact, I've got some queued up for us to watch. But what do you guys think of that? Am I being reasonable? I can never tell if I'm being a dick either. I don't want to be a dick. That's not my goal. My goal is to find the good info. I can't find Professor Dave. Let's see. Professor Dave... History of Drugs is the series, and it was the first and second one. There we go, Professor Dave. See, like, I'm trying to be cool with Dave. I'm not trying to. Dave's trying to be very confrontational, but I'm not trying to discard all of Dave's things. By the way, Die Trying, much love. Thank you for that sub, folks. If you haven't started doing the subscriptions yet, if you're on Twitch and you have a Amazon Prime account, it's free. Just click there, lower corner. You can see there's a subscribe button. Click that, and it'll say Prime Subs. That's it. It's done. Easy. I'm going to make a more thorough guide. But, okay, so Professor Dave, who apparently is beefing with me now. So, man, I can't go on the internet without getting into beef. Professor Dave, who's beefing with me now, nonetheless, made some really great videos on the history of ancient medical practices that brings them then up to the level of alchemy. And since we're kind of doing this series of alchemy, I thought this would be a good way to ease into it. Of course, this is what led to my beef with Professor Dave, but it's okay. It's okay.
Professor Dave explains. As we mentioned in the introduction, this series will tell the story of drugs throughout the ages, and there is no better place to begin a story than the beginning. So let's reach back in time as far as recorded history will allow. As soon as human civilizations invented some form of written language and began documenting their activities, early examples of applied medicine began to materialize. The first known civilization emerged in what is now Iraq. These were the Sumerians, who developed urban civilization around 4000 BC in ancient Mesopotamia. Their documents show that they studied astronomy, metallurgy, geology, mathematics, and also pharmacy. The typical pharmacy compendia around 2000 BC involved plant ointments, infusions, and concoctions from poppies, peppermint, mandragora, thyme, and many other herbs. The Sumerians were already aware of the medicinal properties of cannabis and morphine. They also used animal organs for their alleged medical properties and even animal excrements to repel evil spirits. A similar sort of traditional medicine emerged in practically every other organized civilization, and a common thread linked them all. They were all based on the systematic trial and error of all possible natural sources of chemicals available, mostly from the world of plants. The Egyptians left copious logs of their discoveries by way of a pharmacopoeia, which refers to books and other documents containing lists of medicinal drugs, along with their effects and instructions for their usage. For example, the famous Papyrus Ebers dates from 1500 BC and contains over 700 treatments described in 100 pages of hieroglyphics. This body of knowledge was probably acquired over many centuries. The physicians in ancient Egypt belonged to the middle class, much like modern Western societies, and they were highly respected. They embraced magic and sorcery, but they incorporated pharmacy more and more as time passed. The ancient Egyptian deity Thoth was credited with the foundation of all scientific knowledge, including the act of giving Egyptian physicians their knowledge of medicine and drugs. In essentially every culture, the knowledge of medicine is represented as a gift from the gods. One might wonder if these gods were a creation of collective fantasy, or if they described real historical figures endowed with advanced knowledge and were therefore deified. Western medicine, like most of Western culture, draws its origins from Greek thought. In ancient Greece, the god who gave mankind the gift of medicine is Asclepios. He is usually represented with a serpent-entwined rod, which may look familiar. Its meaning is the object of speculation, but it is still used to represent the disciplines of medicine and pharmacy today. The symbol is unfortunately often confused with the caduceus, a symbol of the god Hermes, and therefore not a symbol of medicine and healthcare, but rather of commerce and trade. However, because of the similarity, the two images are often used interchangeably. A temple in Asclepios' honor was founded in Epidaurus, which could be considered the first hospital in history. Patients traveled from all over Greece to be treated there. Patients would receive what was called pharmakon, which in Greek means both poison and drug. This lack of distinction alludes to one of the most important underlying principles of modern pharmacology, which is that the dose makes the poison. This means that a drug can save your life or kill you, depending on the dose, a fact which can be applied to any other type of substance, even those that we depend on for life, such as water and oxygen. One of the most famous doctors of all time, the legendary Hippocrates of Kos, practiced there. Hippocrates lived from 460 to 370 BC, during the Golden Age of Athens. This was an enlightened era characterized by democracy and freedom of expression. Hippocrates has been seen over the ages as the founder of modern medicine, distinguishing it as a discipline finally free of theology and philosophy. Some of his precepts are used even today. Among his professional principles, primum non nocere, which means first do not harm the patient, is still recognized as a pillar of experimental medicine. Hippocrates was probably the first medical practitioner who believed that diseases are of natural origin and not caused by astrological connections or evil spirits. He supported humorism, which was the theory of the four humors, those being blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. At the time, disease was thought to be due to an imbalance of these four humors. Although the theory had no true scientific basis, it must be credited as the first attempt to create a foundation upon which to build fact-based medicinal practices. His theory and his practice of medicine are collected in an impressive body of work called the Corpus Hippocraticum, which remained an important reference through the Middle Ages. It was a collection of about 70 medical treatises, originally written in Ionic Greek, probably by his disciples and followers, and later translated into Latin, the official language of science in Europe until the 18th century. In particular, the section called Hippocratic Oath documents the ethics of medical practice and constitutes the most influential section of the Corpus Hippocraticum. In fact, the current laws and guidelines defining good medical practice are derived from the original work of Hippocrates. After his death, the practice of medicine suffered a serious setback, mainly due to political strife in ancient Greece. Hippocrates' work was eventually taken up by the Romans, who adopted the Greek mythological origin of medicine and renamed the god Asclepios as Aesculapius. During the Roman imperial age, the most famous physician was Galen, also of Greek origin, who lived during the 2nd century AD. Born in Pergamon, a Greek colony which is in present-day Turkey, he spent most of his life in Rome, where, thanks to his exceptional knowledge and abilities, he became the personal physician to several emperors, including Marcus Aurelius. Medicine in ancient Rome had regressed, reintroducing elements of divination and mysticism. Galen fought an uphill battle to apply and perfect the Hippocratic theory of disease, based on the 4 humors. In addition to surgery, Galen strongly promoted venesection and bloodletting as an approach to disease, as opposed to divination. Galen is famous for his approach to complex formulations of remedies and elixirs, and to date, the field of drug formulation is often referred to as Galenics in his honor. Galen's work, the Galenic corpus, is truly immense. It was written in Greek, which was the elite language in ancient Rome, and it was believed to amount to over 500 treatises, equivalent to almost 1,000,000 pages. As the Western Roman Empire collapsed, the political center of the Western world migrated to Byzantium, the eastern capital of the Roman Empire, and to the Arab world surrounding it. The Materia Medica, a medical compendium widely employed in the West and based on Galen's work, was the Bible of the medical profession until the 17th century, when elements of modern science were finally introduced. His work was translated into Latin and Arabic, and his tradition was slowly embraced by the Arabs, who took his work a step further in the centuries that followed. As the Arab world became the center of excellence in medical treatment during this era, let's move forward and learn all about that time period next.
So if you can't tell, Professor Dave is not a fan of the magic. Does not support it, does not want us taking it seriously, probably thinks it's dangerous, which is why I really want him to be involved in this astrology experiment, if he'll accept my challenge. Maybe we'll get a comment notification while we're doing this live, and I'll bring it up live. Okay, next.
He knows a lot about the science stuff, Professor Dave explains.
With the fall of the Roman Empire formally assigned the date of 476 AD at the hands of Germanic tribes, the Vandals and Ostrogoths, a cultural vacuum ensued, which inevitably affected medicine and pharmacy. The cultural center of Europe gradually moved from Rome to other Italian cities, such as Milan, and especially to the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, Constantinople, or Byzantium. These are the Latin and Greek names, respectively, for the modern city of Istanbul in present-day Turkey. Byzantium rose as a central power and reached its apex around the 8th and 9th centuries AD, after which it began its decline as a political power. It was not formally conquered until 1453 at the hands of the Ottomans, led by 21-year-old Mehmed the Conqueror. However, Arabic culture, in a climate of enlightenment and freedom of thought, had already taken over the great Greco-Roman heritage. Works by the Greeks and Romans were translated into Arabic, and science advanced substantially over the next 2 centuries in their care. Most notably, branches of science like chemistry and pharmacy flourished in the Arab world. The first apothecary shops appeared in Persia around 850 AD. The pharmacy profession, at the time consisting mainly of the preparation of oils, unguents, and concoctions, was formally separated from medicine.
So, there's obviously a natural connection there between the preparation of these things from the same herbs and plants that we're using for magic and the same regions at the same time that a lot of this magic is coming from. So these things are obviously very closely connected, as much as Professor Dave doesn't want to admit it. See, now I can't watch his videos without feeling a little bit salty, because he was kind of a dick in his responses. Is that just me? Am I taking it personally? You guys let me know.
The pharmacists had to be educated through a specific curriculum and were required to swear an oath of ethics. Their pharmacopoeia included traditional Greek and Roman ingredients, as well as a growing number of Persian and Indian plant extracts, and even inorganic chemicals. At the time, Baghdad was the primary center for pharmacy and medicine in the world. Its medical school and hospital represented the pinnacle of excellence for these early days of medicine. An important figure in the Arab world, one so legendary that some doubt his actual existence, is represented by Jabir ibn Hayyan, a scientist and philosopher often referred to as the father of chemistry. Abu Musa Jabir ibn Hayyan may have been an Arab or a Persian by ethnicity and was born in 721 AD.
You guys want to guess if this guy was into astrology?
In the town of Tus in Khorasan, in present-day Iran, but which at that time was part of the Umayyad Caliphate. Jabir left an astounding number of treatises, about 3,000 in total, leading experts to believe his followers may have authored a substantial number of them. They form what is called the Jabirian corpus, and a short description of it is relevant in understanding where our knowledge of chemistry, or rather alchemy, as well as medicine, stood in the 9th century. Much of his work is written in a complex code, and not all of it can be translated or interpreted. In fact, it is thought that the word gibberish, which is a word that refers to unintelligible and nonsensical speech or writing, comes from Geber, the Latin equivalent of Jabir. Jabir made one of the first attempts to catalog chemical elements according to a numerical system, vaguely reminiscent of Mendeleev's periodic table of the elements. He divided the elements into spirits, or volatile elements, metals, and nonmetals. All the metals contained different proportions of sulfur-likeness and mercury-likeness, which essentially sounds like a first attempt at characterizing electronic properties. This theory was revitalized by Paracelsus 6 centuries later. Jabir even developed a basic theory of molar equivalents that Europe rediscovered about 1,000 years later. In the chemistry lab, the Arabs practiced extractions, calcination, sublimation, crystallization, and distillation, for which Jabir invented a new tool, the alembic. Jabir left detailed protocols for isolating citric acid and acetic acid, distilling ethanol, and crystallizing tartaric acid from grape juice. He also described the synthesis of ammonium chloride, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, and aqua regia, which dissolves gold. He developed the first samples of steel.
So you may remember Aqua Regia from last time, right? The last class we were watching on Alchemy. So when they were talking about it, this is the dude who came up with the formula for it. And once again, a dude who was into astrology. I'm just saying it, Professor Dave. I'm just saying that all these guys who you think are quite smart, probably coming up with shit that you can't come up with, really into astrology. I don't know why they're suddenly suckers. That's all I'm saying, Professor Dave. Because now it's beef, I feel like. Is it beef? Do you guys think I should actually actively beef? I mean, Professor Dave has many more 1.39 million subscribers, a much bigger presence than me.
Invented the dyeing of cloth, the waterproofing of cloth, and even some anti-rust paints. The medieval Islamic tradition introduced the use of lab chemicals, mostly inorganic, as cures to disease, and in this fashion, Jabir's work in chemistry was an important first interface with pharmacy, a link which is the basis of modern pharmacology. Jabir was never a physician, yet he practiced the profession of pharmacist. He wrote a comprehensive book of poisons, including poisons of animal, plant, and mineral origin, and their pharmacological effect on patients. Many scholars consider this book to be the first link between chemistry and medicine. It is intriguing to acknowledge that inorganic materials were thought by Jabir and his school to be beneficial to health, when in the West the theory of vitalism held sway until the early 19th century, which was the belief that living organisms depend on forces and principles that are distinct from non-living or purely chemical phenomena. How could inorganic chemicals affect the chemistry of living beings, which were thought to be
You guys are
endowed with
hilarious. I
some
wouldn't really
vital
beef with
spirit?
Professor Dave.
It is an important philosophical distinction, and we will revisit this theme several times throughout this series. The next pivotal figure in medicine was Abu Ali al-Hussein ibn Abd Allah ibn Sina, or Ibn Sina for short, and simplified in Latin to
But I will tell you
Avicenna.
this. I will tell you
He
this.
was
I
a
want to do this
Persian
experiment
physician and
with Dave
polymath.
because I truly
He was
believe
born near
that
Bukhara
a
in
proper
present-day
experiment with a
Uzbekistan
proper
in the year
astrologer
900
would yield
AD.
results that
He led
surprise
a
him.
nomadic life, traveling through Asia
Because what all
and
these have in
practicing
common
medicine. His
is shit
masterwork in the
astrology.
field of medicine,
That's what they all have
the
in common.
canon
So
of
if it's
medicine,
bad astrology, I
translated
don't
into
expect it to be
Latin
accurate.
In the 13th century, was a key reference book for hundreds of years. It was the key medical document in medieval Europe as well as the Islamic world, and remained an important medical reference text until the 18th century. Avicenna expanded Hippocrates' theory of the four humors in combination with the theory of the four temperaments, which are called sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic, after the humors they correlate with. He applied this mode of thought to what he referred to as emotional aspects, mental capacity, moral attitudes, self-awareness, and movements and dreams as causes of disease. Thus, to him, disease was not just caused by external factors, but also by individual predisposition. We would say today, in slight agreement with Avicenna, that our genes play a major role in around 80% of disease. Avicenna left behind a long list of preferred drugs and about 800 treatments, with detailed instructions on their administration, as well as painstaking observation and description of a host of important diseases. This extreme detail made his work of paramount importance, even when it was eventually realized that his theories had no scientific foundation. Due to increasing religious intolerance in the Arab world, the medical profession moved back to Europe in the 11th century. An important school was set up in Salerno, Italy, where the Arab tradition was reintegrated into the European canon.
The other reason I want to share this video with you, the other reason we're watching this video right now, is because this is, obviously you're seeing alchemy alongside medicine move from the Arab world to the Italian world. A lot of magic. These dudes with the monk haircuts here, see the dude on the left here who's holding the flask, he's got the monk haircut, he's a monk. And these same monks were learning from the Arab scholars everything the Arab scholars had to teach. And back then, again, medicine and alchemy and magic were all basically the same thing. And so many of these ideas were already being passed around, mixed and matched and retransmitted and further developed here and then dropped off over there and further developed and carried here. So much in the history of all these teachings.
Unfortunately, the Middle Ages were a miserable time to be alive in Europe. Endless war and strife was interrupted by brief periods of peace, which were marred by frequent epidemics, some of which were of horrendous proportions. Life was brutish and short, and religion found a fertile ground of misery on which to thrive. In general, independent thought and scientific ideas were not seen favorably by the Church, and this led to the persecution of freethinkers and a general stagnation of the pharmacy profession, among many others. Although apothecaries were established all over Europe and began to be regulated as a guild, very little progress was made in terms of cures. As we mentioned, epidemics devastated the continent. For example, we can examine how the Black Death, a particularly intense plague, ravaged Europe as the medical profession watched helplessly. This truly is the next major chapter in our story, so let's get a closer look at these plagues next.
So we're going to hop off before the Black Death in the history of medicine. Maybe we'll come back and watch there because it's good. And I like showing you guys Professor Dave's content, especially if he's going to be rude to me. But I would like to do the experiment. I would like Professor Dave to be involved in the experiment. I think he's a biased subject, so I don't think he should be involved as a subject. But I'd love to have him design and vet the experiment as scientifically valid. Absolutely. I think there's no better person to do that than someone who's actively trying to disprove it. And I'm going to need to reach out to my astrologers and have them reach out to their astrologers and find, the boss vampire of astrologers to do this work. Because, I'm not saying I can do it. God, I'm just saying that I have faith that astrologers can, and I'm willing to give money to charity to find out. I think that's fair. What do you guys think of that? Is that bad? I'm not. That's the sort of beef that I'm proposing. That a challenge with money given to charity. That kind of beef, not the like have my people roll up on him type of beef. But yes, I think that sort of experimental challenge, maybe a gentleman's bet on that. Well, so let's see if he's responded, because we were having what I thought was a very productive conversation about it. But he seems skeptical.
He knows a lot about the science
But like,
stuff.
I get it, Dave. Like you're teaching science on YouTube.
Western astrology.
I understand that it is unrealistic for you to expect that there's a whole bunch of people who would be willing to contribute to find this stuff out. But look, here's the combo right here. You can see it right here. He thinks there's no serious astrology. Oh, let me share it with you guys so you can see it right here. Yeah. And again, I tried to conduct myself as respectfully as possible. And yeah, like make a gentleman's bet on the end, and then the winner has to give more money to charity. I think that's super classy, right? Oh, he's an atheist too. Oh, he loves debunking all this stuff. Fantastic. Oh, wonderful. He's made a career of debunking this stuff. I'll have to learn more about this, Professor Dave. But yeah. Because I wonder a lot what atheists, like, what does an atheist, no, he's an anti-flat earther. He's very anti-flat earth. That's a big, he's definitely, debunking flat earth stuff is a big thing of his. Yeah. And yet, that's it. One of the things that I think is interesting about science is, and have you guys seen this clip where Jon Stewart was on TV recently? He was big when I was a kid. He's from New Jersey. He's Jewish, so it's kind of like a thing with my people, right? So he was on TV talking about science, and he was like, the thing with science is there's no one in the room to say, like, you know what, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe we shouldn't do that. We could, definitely, but maybe we shouldn't. And that is, to me, the rational progression of scientism, right? The dogmatic belief in science. I'm not for any dogma. I think there's validity that underlies, much if not all of it. But I'm not for dogma, right? So this scientific dogmatic belief in science makes it very hard, right? If you only believe in science and believe that science has all the answers, then it's very hard to say there's any meaning to life. It's very hard to say there's any reason we should be kind or nice or good to each other. It's very hard to say that there's any reason to do any of this stuff. And it can enable some pretty horrific behavior. And it's not coincidental that a lot of like Jeffrey Epstein gave a lot of money to a lot of these guys. I don't know because if they were freaks like him, but I think because he's trying to propagate philosophy that justified his horrific behavior. I think that kind of thing for sure. I think that's a for sure. That's a given. In any case, my point being, I'm not trying to make a ad hominem attack to like dirty up science, but I think that there is no purpose to life scientifically other than reproduce and I guess reproduce as much as possible, which I don't know. That seems like if you did that, you'd be a Jeffrey Epstein. Like, that seems fucked up, man. That's not what I'm here for. And if that's the best we can do as a species, I'll tell you what. I'll say this. I'll say that I have in my life. Shout out to one YouTube viewer. If it's Professor Dave, welcome, Dave. I hope your ears were ringing. Matt Hatter, welcome. Thank you for joining on Twitch. Yes, I'm finally on Twitch. I made the jump a few weeks ago. This is my Twitch guru here. Yes. So what I'll say about science here and Jeffrey Epstein and all this is you must include some reason to have a moral code, or else why have it? It's not evolutionarily beneficial. There's no By pure science rules, there's no reason to be good, decent, or nice. And nonetheless, I've noticed in my life that when I abide by these other rules, these not pure science rules, things actually go a lot better. I have a lot better time of it. It's easier. I'm happier. So I don't know what the goal of science is. I guess the goal of science is not to make it easy and happy, and then to make drugs to make you feel like it's easy and happy. So I don't know. So everyone makes money or something. I don't know. I don't know what that ideological end of scientificism is. And I'm not a professor either. I'm a fool. So there's professors and there's fools. I'm just a fool. Maybe that is good. Maybe that is happiness. I don't know. Anyway, guys, what do you want to do? Meditate time? I think it's time to meditate. And I think yesterday was kind of intense. Did you guys dig that? That was kind of an intense breath meditation, but I felt like it was a good bridge between the Wim Hof. That intense nose breathing was really something. Do you want to try that again? Or do we want to try maybe a different breathing meditation? If anyone wants to go tell Dave, at me, please, because I want to have this discussion with him. And frankly, this is the discussion I want to have with Dave. Is what is the point of knowing things? Does that become the point of being alive? Is to know as much stuff as possible? Because if that's the point of being alive, well, fuck, it's unlikely. You can't even read. Fuck every book that's ever written. Every book that if you sat down now and tried to read every book that's being written right now, that's on the shelves right now, you couldn't. It's a constant process. So I don't know. I guess I got a question where there's room for moral goodness, virtue, kindness, the higher humanity in science. Where's the scientific evidence for that? And where's the rational basis for that? I don't see it there. That's why I left that. If I'm being completely honest, because it wasn't personally fulfilling. What do you guys think? I'm sometimes I feel like I'm just standing here talking to myself. But also, let me cue up some meditation stuff for us. Some breathing meditation, I think. Say one he agrees. I don't know if maybe Professor Dave agrees. I don't think Professor Dave agrees. And I don't know what Professor Dave defines good as, and I don't know if Professor Dave thinks good is important. But what I can guarantee is that if we were in the same room and I just went up and acted like an animal scientifically, right? Fucking I ate him or whatever, or did that to someone he loved, Professor Dave would not be happy about that. And I think that's I think there's something to that. I don't know. Not that I want to eat anyone at all, including Professor Dave's family, or if anyone did it, right? Scientifically, if a wolf ate your kid, you got to be like, oh, that's good science. It's the wolf being like a wolf. But that seems horrifying nonetheless. And then what then becomes the purpose of life? Is it just what seems good to you? Can you play that out to a rational end? No, that doesn't seem good, because then you get in all kinds of stuff. And then you get your Jeffrey Epstein. So that's a guy who purely does what seems good to him, what seems pleasurable to him. And that seems like a fucking slippery slope, to say the least. So then how do we live if we're stuck here for this long? Should we just off ourselves? Have 2 kids and off yourself? That doesn't seem like what we're here for. No. So I don't know. Again, I wish I could get into this mindset. The worst thing about Epstein and R. Kelly is they had help. Not only did they have help, I mean, they had peoples. Epstein had fucking, you know what I'm saying? People were rolling with him for this. He had that whole island shit. He had staff because they didn't think it was wrong. That's what it was. If you don't think it's wrong, there's shit that I just don't do like that that I think is wrong, and I'm not going to touch it. Then there's shit I don't do that I don't think is wrong. I don't eat pork. I don't give a fuck if you eat pork. Do whatever you want. Right? But I don't feel that same way about being Jeffrey Epstein. Right? So it's, I don't know, man. It's tricky out there. And when I look at the you might say that science, therefore, isn't a system for morality. Okay. Science isn't a system for morality. Okay. Then what is a system for morality? If not religion or spirituality, or whatever we want to call this realm, perhaps philosophy becomes a system for morality. But philosophy is unscientific as you can get. There's fucking no... You have to reject one to hold the other. And so how do you hold both? How do you be both scientific and philosophical without at some point bridging that with the glue of religion or spirituality, right? I know of no other way. I put that out there as a question because I don't know the answer. And I think absent that, understanding the world around us and understanding our purpose in it, and then having something to bridge that as making it cohesive and cogent, there probably is no reason to be a decent person. You might as well go out. I mean, I guess then don't get caught or don't break the law. Then the law becomes the standard, but there's no scientific basis for the law. There's hardly a moral basis for the law. It's hardly a religion. Like, the law is its own completely arbitrary thing. So that one doesn't add up either. It starts to become a very difficult worldview to be scientific in isolation, in my experience. And there may be experiences quite counter to it, and I'd love to hear them. Maybe they're really, really... And I say this because the reason I got on this tip is because one day this atheist kid got all up in my DMs for like 4.5 hours. And I didn't, I was definitely trying to desist and step the fuck out of it the whole time. But he really wanted to push this discussion that God can't exist, a religion is bullshit, and da-da-da-da, and on and on and on. And I was like, cool, man, like, that's cool. First of all, you're making a lot of assumptions about what I believe. There's one thing we noticed, and I corrected him on those. And then, he was... At the end of the day, I was like, look, man, I'm not afraid. It sounds to me like you're afraid of being called stupid or people thinking you're dumb. I'm way past that at this point. I'm okay with being called dumb. Professor Dave calls me dumb or anyone else. That doesn't really do anything for me one way or the other. If that's your purpose in life, for people to think you're smart, then I guess you're doing okay. But also, there are some big problems with where you're at, right? Like, because he was also saying, I feel empty, life has no meaning, and all this other shit. So, I don't know. I think it's interesting to explore. I don't have an answer to this stuff, right? Like, I don't know why one would choose a completely scientific, materialist, rationalistic viewpoint, and or how one can justify everything else we do if that is truly one's viewpoint. It seems not totally reasoned through. And again, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's huge pieces of data that I are completely absent to me, and that's why I can't reason through it. I don't know. Do you guys want... No feedback, by the way, on you guys with the meditation. So I'm just going rogue on this. We're going to do 2 rounds. I want to do Wim Hof, but I think that's too intense. That one we did yesterday was dope, though, right? Let's try this one. There's 11 minutes, and hopefully he's not, like, it's not that intense. Let's check it out. If it's super intense, we'll switch it up.
Hi, guys. Welcome. This is a guided reading session.
All right, I'm just going to jump in. Okay. This I can deal with. This is much better than the one we tried yesterday with the glacier. That was way too fucking intense. All right. Anyone with us today who has not done breathing meditation sessions, especially one of these Wim Hof sessions with us, make some noise in the chat. By the way, while I'm waiting for the lag to transmit that, you may have noticed the bar right here. First of all, the time under the psilocybin tarot bar is negative, meaning we passed our goal line. Did we hit it? Better fucking believe it. We hit 150 yesterday. We are at 150 follows on Twitch. Thank you very, very, very much. We have 7 subs. I appreciate every single one of those dearly. That's what is going to help us hopefully pay for all this stuff that we got going here. Cool. Die Trying. Welcome. So the things to know. I think he's going to give instructions. We've never done this particular recording. But the breathing is circular, so it's constant. So I will kind of demonstrate it. So we're going to go... So I'm breathing kind of from down here up. So it's just going to be constant like that, in the nose, out through the mouth, and you're kind of making circles. You're making this circle. And that kind of keeps you in the vibe. You're super oxygenating your blood, and then we're going to deprive our blood of oxygen or something. I don't know. It's pretty cool, though. Scientifically, it shouldn't be possible. Let's check it out.
Yes, welcome. This is a guided reading session. Relax to the deepest. Lie down, sit down, whatever it takes. Relax. Are you ready? Here we
Okay, the other really, really, really big thing I got to say before we start is when he says relax, every amount of tension and alertness in your musculature, your body and mind is going to consume some oxygen to be in that state. So the more you can relax, the more you will be able to roll with this, okay? I don't know. We did it yesterday. The first round was really hard for me because I was smoking cigars the night before. We'll see how I do today. If you can't breathe, I got to give the disclaimer of yesterday. Don't do this. Don't do this. I'm a professional doing this for religious purposes at home. I'm advising you not to do what I'm about to do. You should ignore everything I'm about to do. If you do this and you don't feel well during the course of it, you should stop immediately. You should definitely talk to a doctor before you do anything like this. Anything I'm about to attempt or demonstrate, if you choose to do it, I'm telling you not to do it. And if you do it on your own, that's up to you. Anyway, I'm going to do this. But show that to your lawyer before you sue me. Okay, here we go. I'm going to mic off, headphones on, because that's what good old Vim is coming through on. Let me turn up the volume. Boom. All right, let's hit it.
Here we go.
Let me change this for you guys.
Round number 1. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Just go with the flow of the breath. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in and let go. All right. 1 minute breath hold from now on. Be in this moment. Let the body do what the body is capable of doing. Be aware of your heartbeat. Slow it down and just be in this moment. Let that relaxation spread down to your toes, into your fingertips, to the base of your neck and head. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. Okay, recovery breath in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 2. Back into that rhythm. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. In with peace, out with stress. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. Nice, deep, circular breaths. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in. And on the exhale, stop. 1.5 minute breath hold from now on. Feel. Become aware of your body. If your hands and feet are tingling, or you feel your body temperature is changing, that's okay. You're doing fantastic. If you need to breathe before I give the cue, that's okay. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. When you're ready, fully in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 3. Back into that rhythm. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In with the relaxation, out with the stress. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. In with peace, out with stress. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. Nice, deep, circular breaths. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in. And on the exhale, stop. 1.5 minute breath hold from now on. Become aware of the blood running through your veins, your heart beating. Feel. "30 seconds left." You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. All right. Breathe in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Let your breathing return to normal as you finish up the round. Move your body bit by bit, starting with your fingers and your toes. Let your breathing normalize. If you liked this guided breathing session, we got more for you. We got a free app on our website. Download it. It's good stuff.
Hey guys, I'm the Iceman.
Here we are.
Very cold. No.
Whoa,
very
hold
warm.
on.
Hearted.
There we go. Hey, everybody. Who was with us for that? How was your Wim Hof experience? Also, if you're having trouble with ads being part of your reality, get an ad blocker, please. I did the last 91 without struggling that time, yeah. That one was, oof, I'm still kind of buzzing hard. That was good, right? That's good stuff. I'll drop the link to that video in the Discord. And I will drop that other link as well. Let me pop up the Discord here. Hard to do after eating. Yeah, that's for sure. Taking those deep breaths after eating. Definitely challenge. It increases the challenge level here. Here's the Wim Hof. Boom. There's the Wim Hof. Just dropped that in the Discord for you guys. If you want to get in on the Discord, I can, well, I'll just tell you, check us out on, go on Twitch, twitch.tv/HoodooMoses, and the Discord link's going to be the first link right there. Dude, oh, thank you, Sewani. Thank you for dropping that link. Dude, relaxing is the most important part to being able to hang. Like, if I feel like you just got to start as soon as you start holding your breath, you got to start relaxing. Anyway, I'm feeling pretty relaxed now after all that. On that note, gang, let's do it up like this. Hands up, get big, whatever it is. Now that your blood flow should be back, your breathing should be back. Oh, Candy, you're Sewani. I never know who's who. Thank you, Candy. Let's get ourselves nice and large now. Take up as much space as possible. Take a moment to come back into these bodies. As usual, let's take a deep breath right into that heart area. And let's have a moment to be grateful. Let's be grateful for these amazing bodies that can do all kinds of things like that. Like, and holding my breath for a minute and a half, that's new for me. But you can change your body, you can grow. And the bodies themselves are so adaptable. The way that we just had to flood it with oxygen and then we could go without for so long. So these amazing bodies that we're given that know how to do these things innately without our effort. And I used to take that for granted. It's why I start by saying it every day. I used to take for granted that's just how the body is. There's nothing to be grateful to or for. But nonetheless, I'm grateful at minimum to my ancestors because I would not be there without them. And if I'm going to be grateful to them and for them, then I have to be grateful to and for the things that sustain them and enabled them to reach this point. To the point where I can be produced. And if we're going to be grateful for those things, we can be grateful to the things that produced, sustained, and carried all of those things that sustained and carried our ancestors all the way back. We can be grateful for the people in our own lives, the ideas we've encountered, the challenges we've faced, the victories we've won, the lessons we've won. We can be grateful for all of that and know that they are gifts to us. And in true gratitude for the gifts, we can be humble and submissive to them, to receive them with true, honest humility. If we do that, if we're able to receive those gifts with true, honest humility, then we can connect truthfully, vulnerably, and sincerely with the sources of all these gifts. And through that connection, fully open and enlivened, we can draw into ourselves and towards ourselves, into our minds, towards our bodies, towards our realities, that we ourselves are here to frame every possible resource and connection that we need to accomplish our goals and to achieve our wants. We can draw to ourselves every inspiration, the mentorship, the tutorship that we need to clearly reach the point that we are headed next and to know the points to reach after that. We can draw to ourselves every bit of sustenance, and not just sustenance, but every bit of energetic assistance, every bit of vigor that will enable us to take these huge leaps across states of comfort and across places of resting, to reach the next purview, the next view, the next vista, the next landmark that we're chasing. Because we will proceed along this path, landmark to landmark to landmark, and vivified with this life, truly in concert with those around us. We will do so till old age. May we reach the end of our road, hitting each of these landmarks. And in gratitude for that, therefore, we also express our blessings, because we are repositories of blessings, living beings, imbued not just with physical energy, not just with a physical form, but with intellect, with spirit, with soul. And therefore we have this remarkable capacity, unique among the universe, the objects and things and mere nothing of the universe, to grant blessings. So let's use all of these capacities to bless ourselves, yes, the people around us, of course, the people in our lives, but indeed our neighborhoods, our towns, our entire cities, our regions, our countries, the entire earth, all of humanity, and beyond. Every reach of space, every atom in movement, let's give our blessing, our affirmation, our approval, and our love. And with that said, let us draw to us and receive all these greater sources that are coming to us right now. And let us all say, Amen. Time on Twitch. And because we did hit that goal, I'm going to have to figure out how to do psilocybin